All right, we are back on PALS TV with our final segment of the day. So Sarah's out with a group out in Heath, and she is walking around showing some of the really cool historic things that are happening right in our back neighborhood. And if you guys don't know, Heath has a ton of history. They have the mounds out there, the Indian mounds, that some people have said should be added to the wonders of the world. They're that impressive. Sarah and her group and all of our friends are down there in downtown Newark, and they're going to show us some of the cool history that happened right in our backyard. So can you hear us, Sarah?
Yes, can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Awesome. All right, guys, so we're here today with
Alan.
And TK
And Zach.
and Zach. So we're going to start out here at downtown Newark. It's wonderful. I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful downtown. And I think the most interesting thing about it is just our history. So we're going to get started here. And the first place we are at is the Old Licking County Historical Jail. Turn my camera around. There we go. So if you guys have never seen this, it is very, very amazing. Old metal gates and walkways. All right, you guys gonna come behind me? Close the gate behind you. I just love the architect work in the building, the brick and the old sandstone. If you guys ever get to travel out here, you can really get close to this old gym. So it's definitely worth the trip. So I don't know if you guys can see it or not, but let's kind of give a brief idea of what it is. So it's Licking County Sheriff's Residence and Jail. And it was opened in 1889, cost only $120,000 to build. $120,000 to build this medieval mansion-looking jail. So it was, yeah, this whole place is amazing. Trying to get a couple ideas of. So yeah, it housed, the warden. So the warden lived here with his family. In the very part of the upstairs, it was the warden, the living quarters. And if you guys ever get a chance to come down, you can take tours of this place and you can see where it's just set back in time. You can see all of the jail cells on the first, second, and third floors. You can see where the warden and the matron and everybody used to live. Very awesome place. Sure, it wasn't very awesome for the people that used to be jailed in here or prisoned in here, because if it looks this spooky on the outside, I can only imagine how spooky it is on the inside. So here's Zach. He's checking out up by the doors, those big old iron gates. Here's a cool little feature. I don't know if you guys can see. It's a frog. It's a water spout. That's pretty cool. So all around Newark, at their historical sites, there's these metal plaques around. So it kind of gives you an idea of, what is around and some history. So it says on July 8th, 1910, Deputy Marshal Carl Etherington was killed for enforcing the county option law, which prohibited the sale of alcohol in Licking County. So it's kind of Licking County's prohibition. It says the county option law was a result in the Rose Law in 1908 with the prosecutor to the National Prohibition Act in the 18th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States. Etherington was shot by the owner of the illegal saloon in self-defense. Later that day, he was forcefully removed by a mob through the Licking County Jail's north side door. So at this very jail, a mob went in to the jail and kind of kidnapped him. And he was beaten and hung from a telephone pole on the southeast corner of the square. And you gotta remember, this is a deputy. This is a deputy of the jail. And this all happened just because he wanted to stop the sale of alcohol. So Deputy Marshal Carl's death has been recognized as a line of duty death by following organizations. So he was kind of like in memory, because he was like unlawfully killed. So yeah, can you imagine that? A group of people going in this place and taking somebody out, just hanging him because he didn't want the sale of alcohol. At one point, I know that they had called Newark Little Chicago because, believe it or not, the crime was insane. It was a lot of crime and havoc. Bad stuff used to happen around here. Zach wants to tell you something about the window here. What's that, Zach?
What is that?
It looks like it's a window into one of the old cells, I'm sure. I mean, I've personally been in here. It's very spooky. It's like all the original cells, the big iron doors, the tiny little beds that they'd had to sleep on, and they pretty much put everything back in to its like original state. Yeah, so they could kind of show it off. The fire escape.
But one of the kids that's good.
Yeah. See, this is when jail was jail and people didn't want to keep going back. Yeah. Pretty wild looking. Can't really even capture the whole picture of this place. I know, like, the bottom floor, like the basement, was used for like people that would go to jail like not very long. It's like if they were drunken on the street, they'd go and they wouldn't spend very long. And then like the first two floors for like men, and then the women, and then at the very top was where the warden lived. This is kind of a cool piece of old history. Is the old door. It still says to be used for officers with prisoners only. Old metal doors. All right. This is just right off the square. Oh, and then Zach's checking the place out. If you guys are ever interested, definitely hop online. This place is also in the history books and like the History Channel for being haunted. So if anybody is into the supernatural spirits, they do tours in here all the time. So you can take a history tour and a flashlight tour to see if you witness any spirits or any supernatural activity in there too. Me, I'm not into that stuff. It freaks me out. So it took me pretty much all day to get through them, but where they had built the canal market, like all down through here, down along the parking garage, is these plaques. And all of these plaques shows a place in Licking County that is historical, and it gives you a really great idea of all like the different historical landmarks. So there's like the Black Cane Gorge, and it gives you a really good definition of the Black Cane Gorge. Tells you about Flint Ridge. And then Dawes. And it doesn't even stop here. Like they go all the way down this walkway. So there's got to be at least a good 30 of these things. It's about the old mill. The Licking Memorial Hospital. This is something that I didn't know, and I don't know why I didn't know this, but the first Licking Memorial Hospital was just a big house. in 1914. It was on Buena Vista. You can see that or not. It's a old house. The Ohio Erie Canal. That's the canal that runs through downtown Newark, or used to run through downtown Newark. Yeah, the past few years, they have really done a lot to downtown Newark. If you ever just want a really good walk, just to sightsee, especially all the beautiful paintings, the murals. I say that wrong. I say that word wrong all the time. But this is the Canal Market. I believe every last Friday of the month, they host something called the Final Fridays here. And they open it up into a great big market. So flowers, fresh fruits, crafts, music, entertainment. Absolutely love these. If I can zoom up on this or not. See that? This is a helping hand. Ray Haynes and his sister Mary crossed the Ohio Canal. One of my favorite things is how they had left the old buildings just kind of like tapered off from like their original brick. Instead of just completely tearing it down, kind of gives it that, you know, old-timey look to it. This is one of my favorite places, this whole alley here, where it's like the perfect view of the courthouse. It's all set back in time when you walk through it. It's even like dogs playing. Almost looks lifelike, doesn't it? Look. About as tall as Alan. Hello. Unfortunately, there's a lot of stores and places that are, you know, closed or have permanently closed due to, you know, the virus, but a lot of them have relocated. There was a really neat popcorn place down here. Fortunately, they're gone, but actually, the place I wanted to show you guys is this one. Getting confused walking through the alley. See, if you remember a few years ago, they have spent a lot of time with downtown kind of closed because they put in those roundabouts. But I think it makes traffic a lot better, and they've redone it all up. All this really pretty brick and the flowers. Definitely money well spent. You painted all the storefronts up to make it look like their original state. Definitely walking down through here feels like a blast from the past. So I found this really cool website. It's like ARCs, or it's like ARCGIS.com. ARCGIS.com. But if you're ever curious about any of the historical places down around here, it's like a virtual tour and you just click on it and read about it. So I found that to be very interesting. So other than the jail and the history, this corner building here is another one of my favorites. It's the First National Bank. Has like the original bars on the window. It says the First National Bank, established in February 3rd of 1865. See, like the old mailboxes. So something that's very, very cool about this place is if you can see up there, above the doorway, that creepy head. So that's kind of actually a big part of history. And I mean, people really don't know to be, you know, is a fact, but kind of like a town legend. His name was Adam Kissel. And the reason why he's up there is because when the bank first opened, he had invested a lot of the money in insurance for a lot of his businesses downtown. And all of his businesses kept failing, and he invested so much money into them. And when he put insurance on it through this bank, I think, let me see here, and 1820 is when this happened. So right after the bank opened, he had a bunch of money invested in it. He put in a bunch of insurances on all of his businesses when his businesses kept failing. So he was like, I'm going to try to get some money out of, you know, the money he's put in. So he had caught his own business on fire. So he arsoned his own business to get insurance money from the bank back. And when he did that, he was kind of like evil. He was evil for doing it because he not only ruined his businesses, but he had caught a bunch of other businesses on fire, you know, pretty much crushed everyone else's hard work doing it. And he had created a whole area of downtown that they had called Slum Row because of how bad and destroyed it was. And it was just beyond repair, and it took years to repair it. So it was just kind of stuck, kind of being in bad shape. So they had made a mold of his face, plastered him up here looking like a goblin, making him look evil for humiliation. And that's just kind of where it stayed. And again, like every bit of information I find, that's what I come up with, but they're still calling it a town legend. But this guy up here definitely looks creepy. I don't know if we'll find any on our walk, but on the outside of some of the buildings, there's like a, I don't know if I say this wrong, but gargoyles. And it's things that, you know, supposedly keep away, you know, bad energy or bad vibes, you know, to scare, you know, like evil, I guess, to not come in their buildings. We're gonna cross the street over here. Hang on one second, Alan. Did you guys see that? He's supposed to yield for us to walk by. Oh, look, this officer did. Yay. You see some of the silliest things. Now, I feel spoiled living in a beautiful city or downtown like Newark. Yeah, Zach wants to tell you that this fountain over here, it lights up and it's beautiful at nighttime too. This is something that they had placed here. It says Attack on America, dedicated to the police, firemen, EMTs, and all of the other victims in the tragedy of September 11th, 2001 in New York, Pennsylvania, and the Pentagon. Also dedicated to the firemen, policemen, EMTs, and all the other employees of Newark. It's like a beautiful monument that they had put up here downtown. Any of my wine people out there, wonderful place, Buckeye Winery is down there as well. Love the Buckeye Winery. There's also a building here. I don't think it's open. You might have to call in to kind of set up an appointment, but there's a building here and it's called Licking County Find Your Way. It's called Explore Licking County. So there's a lot of information in there, more tours, things that go on around town. So we're going to show you something cool that we came across the other day. We come down here some days when it's nice out just to enjoy the fresh air. We came across something I never knew that was here. I have to show you that here in a little bit. We're gonna go over to another really, really awesome building, but I don't know how close we can get to it because there's some construction up around it at the moment.
When you walk in, the sun is warm. When you walk in, the shade.
Oh yeah, definitely warmed up. It was chilly outside, like 70 degrees. It was 70 degrees at noon. All right, we're gonna take another crosswalker. Might be able to get a clear shot of it. I'm gonna stand right here, Alan. So this building here, I'm gonna try to zoom up on it. Like all of that work on the building is like all original. The original structure. The lion and can't really see the bottom part of it because it's covered. But the building I just showed you is called the Lewis H. Sullivan Building. It was built in 1914 and it was like the home offices of the first banks in Licking County. So it had to be fancy, it had to be done up really well if it was, holding such important information and the first bank in Licking County. Wish I can get on the other side of it to show you, but there's a gate up around it. So, fun facts about our courthouse. So it was built in 1876. But the interesting part is that the top of it, so where it goes in layers, where it's like the brown part at the bottom and it looks like a first floor and a second floor, it just stopped where it looks like the peak of it. So the clock tower wasn't built until later. And the reason why it took so many more years to build is because it caught on fire. The courthouse at one time caught on fire. And the courthouse caught on fire in 1875. So it took them from 1876 to 1870 to finish it again. So at first they were just going to not put a big clock tower on it. And when they went to go finish it, I'm not quite sure how it happened, but caught on fire. All of these memorials down here are just beautiful. So this one here is John Lincoln Clem. This is the drummer boy of Shiloh, I believe. It says born August 13th in 1851 in Newark, Ohio. A 10-year-old orphan, he enlisted in the Union Army, being assigned to the 22nd Michigan Regiment, I think it was. He was decorated for a valor at Shiloh Pittsburgh Landing in Chickamauga, I believe, and commissioned second lieutenant by President Grant. He died May 13th of 1937. Just an orphan boy that joined the Army. There's a beautiful statue that is at the corner of West Main and 6th Street, and a lot more details than his big statue is set up there. It's by the Heisley Glass Museum. You guys haven't been outside today, definitely go outside. It is a beautiful, cool day. This reminds me of fall, but it's only August. So this is what we came across the other day. It says, "We the People, 1787 to 1987. It's a bicentennial time capsule. The Licking County contribution to the nation's celebration of the 200th anniversary of the Constitution, dedicated to the people of Licking County, September 22nd, 1987. And it says to be opened during the tricentennial celebration in 2087. So in 2087, this time capsule is going to be opened. Now, I wasn't alive when they buried the time capsule, and I don't know if I'm going to be alive when they open it, because that's another 66 years from now. But I would love to know what is in this time capsule that has been buried here. So it's been here since 1987. It's going to be open in 2087. We had no idea that there was even a time capsule like this. We just happened to walk past it the other day and seen it. Very curious. It would be like my kids and their grandkids or great-grandkids that will be here for the day that this opens. Might have to look into it just to see what's in there. So any of my rock and roll fans, I'm like talking 50s and 60s and 70s rock and roll fans. There's this store over here. It's a blue storefront here. It's called Cornell. It's they call it a men and young men's store because they just kind of kept everything original from you know, like the blast from the past. And inside of it, it is all done up with like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and the Who and the British Invasion. And it is all done up in there like that. And he has the original like outfits that I'm sure he spent a lot of money on that the Beatles wore on stage on display in there. It is a very unique and amazing store. I've never seen anything like it. There's Goomis Candyland. I don't know if Goomis Candyland's even open anymore, but so yeah, definitely if you're down here, you're a fan of the British Invasion, check out the Cornell store. And the man that runs it, he is like the third generation owner. So his father owned the original store. And he's just kept it going all these years. It's that store right there. So we're going to take a walk real quick around the side of the courthouse. So this is a very old fallout shelter sign. And it says that it can hold 466 people. So if a lot of you don't know what, the fallout shelter means, back during the Cold War, when, the United States was always in fear of being, bombed by nuclear weapons from the Soviet Army or the Soviet, yeah. So I kind of got a little bit of a history lesson on it. But during the Cold War, this was one of the places that the townspeople could run to if, the sirens went off and they were, at risk of being bombed. So here it was one of the original, fallout shelters. You see them a lot in schools or old schools. You don't see them now, but old school buildings used to have the signs that, said fallout shelter on them. And as quick as you could, you try to find your closest location for your bomb shelter. And that was between the years of 1947 through 1991 was the Cold War. Imagine just constantly living in fear, not knowing what was going to happen. Have to run to a shelter because you might have been bombed. That's just mind-blowing to me. But the Lincoln County Courthouse definitely had your back. So it can hold a little bit of people. But there's no worry about that now. Another awesome historical marker sign for the courthouse. Oh, see, it says there. So it says another brick building with the pillars replaced in 1832, but was destroyed by fire in 1875. In addition to courthouse activities, the courthouse was a meeting place for local organizations. This building is the fourth courthouse of Lincoln County. I love how they're flying beautiful flag on every side of the courthouse. I know other places, other cities, around Lincoln County, they all have their own courthouse, their own square, but I think the way ours is turning out is very, very impressive. I love how surrounding the entire square is all of, you know, the old buildings that they've tried as hard as they could to keep them all original. What do you think, Alan? Beautiful down here, isn't it?
Sure do. I don't mind living there.
You said you wouldn't mind living here?
I don't mind living down here anyhow. I'm close to the town like this. I'm close to the candy store. Stuff like that.
Alan said he'd love to live around here because he has everything down here he'd need. Things start to open back up again, I definitely recommend seeing a show. I know once a month they show movies. It's a Midland Theater. Yeah, it's like they host a lot of concerts there, but then once a month they have, you know, a great big white screen that they pull down, and they'll show, you know, older movies. Midland Theater holds a lot of history within itself as well. Ticket booth. It's another memorial plaque. Can anybody tell me who this guy is? Anybody? I always thought it was Einstein, but it's not him. Albert Einstein, there we go. But it's not. It's a book. Do you know who that is, Zach? No. He is very famous. He's an author.
It looks like Nick's trying to guess. You have a guess, Nick?
I don't know.
Let's see the book. Okay,
Not
so
sure.
I'm going to cover it up. So the book that he has here is The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. So he's holding one of his own books.
That's a pretty good clue. I think now I got some hands raised. Dusty, do you know who that is?
Mark Twain.
There you go. Yes.
Winner, chicken dinner. There you go.
Life-size statue of the famous Mark Twain. Now, where else could you ever find something so amazing? I love this. Yep, it is Mark Twain. Placed in honor of our friend, who has done more than anyone to keep Mark Twain. Oh, so it was in honor of Hale Holbrook, who has done more than anyone to keep Mark Twain's memory and philosophy alive. Thank you to him, because that is wonderful. And it's life-size, so this guy is huge. Looks like Alan's checking out something.
That's a sweetheart. Usually run along.
Founded in the car company in 1878. So it was like a streetcar, like a street manufactured streetcars. Yeah.
And you two drive on that road?
And urban cars were sleek and clean compared to coal-burning steam trains. They would reach up to 80 miles per hour, carry more passengers from 1900 to 1930. An electric railway system. I did not know this. Passenger trains. Looks like Zach is very intrigued in a UPS box. What's it say on there anyway? Yeah. So down the road here is the Works. It's a learning, education, science-based museum. They have like the Sky Zone in there now where you can go in and it shows you like all the constellations by sitting in like a movie theater seat and you look up. And it there's like the first railway car is on display in there. Shows you like the Loch Erie Canal. An old-timey ticket booth. If you've never been in here, it looks like a palace inside of here. Can I just Google some images of the inside of the theater? Kind of gives you an idea of like the balcony seating that is in this theater in this picture.
That is a really cool downtown. Another thing that's really cool about seeing all that is you can almost just visualize that downtown like back in time. Like you can picture old cars around there. You can really it feels like you're walking around in history, and that's a really well kept downtown square. That's really cool. Does anybody else have any,
in
does anybody have any
September.
questions or comments about that awesome tour? Caitlin?
I've been in Lincoln County Jail before with the oil powers one time.
Were you there
yeah,
for
they used to
business
do
or pleasure?
No. We went to visit it out.
Oh, you were just visiting. Okay, so you're
Yeah,
like
with
on Monopoly,
PALS.
where you're still allowed to leave jail. You were just visiting. You were not there having to spend some nights for
No,
some sort of questionable behavior or anything like that.
no.
Okay,
Well,
good.
PALS did it like before we moved to Strawberry Farms. PALS did it.
Yeah, very cool. That was a fun one. Anybody else? Nick, what'd you think?
I eat it more hot. I eat it more hot.
Yeah, some martial arts.
Nicholas used to take martial arts.
Yeah.
Karate.
Yeah. And that was downtown as well?
It was.
Okay.
But they moved. Yeah. What?
Yeah, so I mean it's a pretty cool place. If you've never gotten to visit there, it's definitely worth the trip and all the history and all that. So we had some really cool tours today. Thank you, Sarah, and all of our friends out in Heath. We really appreciate you guys for giving us a tour and making us really want to come to Newark and see some of the cool sites and history. I know I'm a history buff. I know before we started the segment, Sarah and I were chatting about history. So Newark is a very historic town, lots of history and lots of good stories that were based out of that place. So that's all we have for new content today. If you guys want to hang out, today's greatest hits episode will be a Revolutionary War lesson. So feel free to stick around for that one. If not, I will see you guys tomorrow morning back here on PALS TV for another awesome schedule. So thanks, Sarah. Thank you guys all for stopping by. We'll see you guys in the morning. Have a good day.